Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack 2023 Fantasy Football Quarterback Sleeper Show. I'm joined by my buddy Dylan Clemons here today. How are you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Excited to hear who you got in store for us here on these sleeper quarterbacks. Before we get started, everybody out there, make sure that you like and subscribe. Like this video, subscribe to the channel so you get more content just like this. And then head over to fantasy6packs.com or .net/plans. Professional podcaster right here. Fantasy6pack.net/plans. Become an all access member over there. When you do that, you're going to get access to like our cheat sheets. We have like some of the most accurate rankers for football, baseball. I mean, pretty much any sport you're trying to play, golf, everything there. Then best of all, you get access to our Discord channel where you get to be able to directly message people like me and Dylan here, and we'll help you out with your fantasy teams. So yeah, fantasy6pack.net/plans. Head on over to that. That being said, you ready to get going on this?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
All right, man. So we are getting close. We are, I think, 52 days away from the first NFL game. Cannot wait. We're into draft season, or we're really starting to get into draft season. Dynasty draft season's already really kicked off, and redrafts a couple weeks away. So we're going to start off with some quarterback sleepers here today. So who is your your first quarterback sleeper we're going to discuss here today?
My first guy here, Jordan, is we got Russell Wilson. And man, oh man, is he primed for a breakout, in my opinion. He's going from a coach last year, Nathaniel Hackett, who was a first-year guy who ended up getting fired through like 12 games of the season. He was just awful. And now he's getting Sean Payton, Super Bowl winning head coach Sean Payton. Some of the things, Russ declined a little bit last year, but some of the things that we like the number one in deep ball percentage, and they were also top 10 in pace of play, which we like. Hopefully that stays with Sean Payton at the helm as well. Even with Russ having a terrible season last year, like if you owned him, nobody had fun rostering him, but he still threw for the 13th most yards in the NFL, Jordan, which surprised me when I was looking it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the number one thing that kind of was brought to my attention that stuck out to me was he was awful against man coverage, 30th in completion percentage and 28th in passer rating against man coverage, according to playerprofiler.com. And that's, in my opinion, that's got to be some sort of a scheme issue, right? That I feel like that's meaning like his wide receivers aren't getting open and the plays aren't being ran very well. So I'm back in on Russell this year. I think he has borderline top 12 quarterback upside each week with Sean Payton as his head coach. And I like his weapons. I like Jerry Jeudy. I like Greg Dulcich. Not a huge Cortland Sutton guy, but Tim Patrick is back from an ACL injury. So yeah, I'm all about the Russell Wilson bounce back this year.
Yeah, I mean, a couple notes, and I feel like they're kind of related here. You mentioned Nathaniel Hackett got fired first year. Like, I don't think like people realize how impressive it is to get fired not only in your first season, but you don't even finish out your first season. And I
Yeah.
feel like that directly relates to like what you were saying, the scheme issues. Like, if you can't get Jerry Jeudy, like one of the best route runners that like I've seen come out of college in like the last 5-6 years, if you can't get that guy open, like that's a you problem. That's not an issue on him and Russell Wilson. So I'm with you on that. I think Russell Wilson's going to be a nice bounce back. I think even last year finished like 16th overall for quarterbacks. I mean, if that's his down year, if you're saying that's his absolute basement, I mean, he's a great buy low this year,
Yeah.
100%. But let's move on to our next guy here, and it is kind of an intertwined here. Who is your next sleeper?
And I totally should have did him first, and I went out of order. That's my bad. Like you said in the intro, professional podcast here.
What
But
we do.
Geno Smith is ranked higher than Russell Wilson, so I should have brought him up. He's going QB 15 and underdog ADP, which is kind of what we have to base things off of, with not a lot of ADP out there for redraft quite yet. Hopefully, we get some within a month. But last year, Geno was 8th in fantasy points per game, and his weapons just got better, man, with Jackson Smith and Jigba being drafted in the first round. And Geno was just uber efficient last year, ranking it in the top 5 in multiple categories, and he throws a great deep ball, ranking in the top 5 in deep ball completion percentage and deep ball accuracy rating. So he has one of the best deep ball catchers in the game with DK Metcalf, man, who can really just stretch the field. And he can run it a little bit, averaging about 4 carries per game, which isn't atrocious. So I like his upside here with his weapons, and I like this offense as a whole, man.
Yeah, I mean, you saw what he's able to do last year, and then they brought in Zach Charbonnet and Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, those are just going to make it even easier on him. Are you nervous at all about like kind of the first and second half splits? Because he didn't fall off in the second half, but he did definitely take a little bit of a step back. Does that concern you at all?
To an extent, but I think that's kind of baked into his ADP.
Sure.
It does make me nervous because this was really the only season where he showed out as a quarterback, and obviously he kept his job. He beat out Drew Lock, so it worries me a little bit, but I think he'll be solid, mostly because of the weapons he has surrounding him.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. I mean, I think that you kind of saw like kind of the normal expectations of how it would go. Geno comes out and obviously he's doing some stuff people haven't seen before. Second half, NFL defense have a chance to adjust a little bit, kind of counter correct a little bit. And
Yep.
now you get a chance to have an offseason with Pete Carroll to kind of come out and try and recorrect the corrections the defense made right there. And so you factor that in another season, kind of being the unquestioned guy coming into it, new weapons. I think he's a good bet to outperform his ADP. Absolutely.
Yep, for sure.
So next guy we're going to talk about, we're going to kind of head to the other end of like the age spectrum here. But who is your last sleeper here?
I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett, man. And he is a prime candidate for positive regression. Jordan, this blew my mind when I saw he threw 7 passing touchdowns in 13 games last year. That was a 1.8 touchdown rate.
Wow.
The touchdowns have to be coming from him.
Mm-hmm.
They started to open up the offense a little bit towards the end of the season, but he was definitely babysat at the beginning of the year with offensive coordinator Matt Canada. Just it wasn't allowing him to audible and all that stuff. Hopefully in year 2 it works. And just like we talked about Geno and liking his weapons, I love Kenny Pickett's weapons. I'm a fan of George Pickens. I'm a fan of a Deontay Johnson bounce back as well. We'll talk about him in a later video, I believe. But yeah, man. My favorite stat with Kenny Pickett, looking at it, was he was 6th in pressured completion percentage according to Player Profiler, which is a big stat, man, because their offensive line was bad. This year they used their first round pick on an offensive lineman, blanking on his name at the moment. But the offensive line should be better. And he also, like the other 2 quarterbacks we talk about, he throws a great deep ball. Number 1 in deep ball catchable pass rate. You love that. And, Pickens is a very solid possession receiver too. So he can just kind of throw it up to him and Pickens can go get it as well. So I think I'm not sure Pickett has top 12 upside, but streaming value for sure, pending on the matchup. And he will give you some top 10 weeks this year, I believe.
Yeah. Broderick Jones, that was the tackle they brought in, I
Awesome.
believe, from Georgia. Yep. So yeah, I agree with everything you said there. The one kind of hesitation I have on him is you mentioned the offensive coordinator Matt Canada. A lot of my buddies that are Steelers fans, like they could not wait for that guy to be fired this offseason, and then like the first thing they went out and did was re-signed him. So it makes me a little nervous, but I'm hoping it was just kind of like what you said. I was hoping it's just kind of training wheels, and then this next year in the system we kind of see them open things up for him a little bit. The weapons there, I mean, as you mentioned, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, I think he's a great candidate. Like his 0 touchdowns last year kind of correlates directly to what you were saying with his 7 touchdowns that Pickett was able to throw. I didn't realize it was only 7. That's pretty crazy.
That's
Especially because it felt like he played good down the stretch. So the fact that he only had 7 of them, that's pretty crazy to me, honestly.
I know it. But now, Jordan, I kind of want to flip it to you, man. You're the dynasty guy. You've really dove deep into these rookies. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on who your number 1 rookie is at quarterbacks for redraft heading into this season.
Yeah, for redraft, I mean, I don't think it's really honestly that close when it comes to quarterbacks for redraft. I'm going Anthony Richardson here. I mean, you saw what Justin Fields was able to do last year. I mean, Anthony Richardson is probably not going to set the record for rushing yards in a quarterback season. But if he starts all 17 games, he's going to challenge for 1,000 yards pretty easily, and that alone is going to give him such a nice floor for fantasy leagues. I think that he's going to be better as a passer than people thought. Like, I'm not going to say he's going to come in and Cam Newton it, where everybody's like, holy cow, this guy can actually throw. But I do think he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. When you look at the receivers he was throwing to last year, like there's not a lot of NFL talent that he was throwing to. He's going to have Michael Pittman here, like Josh Downs. So it could be a little bit of a slow burn for the passing game, but I think his ability as a rusher is going to make him fantasy relevant as soon as he's starting. Like literally the week he takes the starting job, which will probably be week 1, you're going to want him in your starting lineups for super flex leagues.
I agree. Justin Fields set the precedent last year, man, with how the lack of passing attempts that offense did last year, and Fields was still able to do what he did down the stretch last season. That's absolutely Anthony Richardson's ceiling this year. Let's just hope
Well,
he's closer to Justin Fields than like a Malik Willis or something like
well,
that.
the other thing that's too, it's crazy. Like you saw what Fields did, and like when you look at Richardson's measurables, like he's like an inch taller and like 5 pounds lighter than Derrick Henry. Like it's
Crazy.
crazy. When you look at his like measurables and like what he's doing out there. So yeah, I think Anthony Richardson. I think he's going to be something that we haven't really seen before in terms of just like that size combo. Like we saw Cam Newton before, but
Yeah,
I almost think Anthony Richardson's an even better athlete than Cam was in terms of just like
I
pure
think he might be too.
athleticism.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to take the league by storm.
At the very least, he's going to be very fun to watch this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, Colts fans, yeah, they got something to look forward to after the way that Andrew Luck saga kind of fizzled out for him there.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you wanted to add on these quarterbacks here?
No, man, I think we're good. I think we're good to wrap it up.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on here to talk quarterbacks. Like we said before, make sure you like the video, hit subscribe to get more professional podcast content from us right here. And with that being said, you guys all have a good night.
Thanks, Jordan.